Ever dreamt of a career with, global impact? Like where you're not just managing spreadsheets all day, but like the movement of actual ships?
Hmm.
Well, today we're diving into the world of maritime water transport general managers.
Okay.
We've got some really cool resources from RoleCatcher to guide us.
Right.
It's kind of like I don't know, like a cheat sheet for anyone who's actually serious about this career path.
So it's interesting, this role, it's one that people, I think, kind of romanticize a lot,
Yeah.
But in reality, it's a very demanding field. It blends a bunch of different things, logistics, client relations, and like really deep industry knowledge. You're
Yeah.
essentially like the conductor of this intricate orchestra,
Wow.
making sure everything's running smoothly, the vessels, the budgets, regulatory compliance.
Right. So it's definitely not just about having a captain's hat and a pair of binoculars.
Right.
Though I had to say, the RoleCatcher guide does mention some pretty enticing perks.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, they talk about the potential for international travel and even leadership roles, which, I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
And it really emphasizes that this isn't just about a love for the sea.
Okay.
It's about tapping into this like rapidly growing, globally connected industry.
And it really is. The demand for skilled maritime professionals is, I mean, it's surging,
Yeah.
driven by, the increase in global trade, but also, interestingly enough, by the rapid advancements we're seeing in shipping technology.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, but it also makes it incredibly competitive.
Oh, I bet.
Which is why I think, really understanding the nuances of this role and what the career path actually looks like is so crucial.
Speaking of nuances, one thing that really jumped out at me from the RoleCatcher guide was this emphasis on social perceptiveness
Oh,
as a key skill.
oh, interesting.
And I have to admit, that kind of surprised me. I wouldn't have pegged that as a top priority when you're
Yeah.
dealing with, cargo ships and shipping routes. It seems like there's more to it than just logistics. Like it's about managing people too, right?
It's true. It's very easy to overlook that human element in a field that's, let's face it, dominated by massive machinery.
For sure.
But you're absolutely right. You have to think about it. You're managing client expectations,
Yeah.
often in really high-pressure situations.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, like if there are shipping delays
Okay.
caused by, unforeseen
It's
circumstances,
a big storm.
exactly, or even, extreme weather events, and then you have the crew.
Oh, right.
Maintaining morale during those long stretches at sea, that's not easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I think what RoleCatcher is getting at here is that it's often these, I don't know what to call them, like these softer skills that really differentiate, a good maritime manager from a truly exceptional one.
So it's like a balancing act almost.
Yeah.
You need the hard skills to manage the logistics side of things, but then also I guess, the finesse to handle all the people involved. Oh, that makes me wonder, what does the actual path to becoming a maritime water transport general manager look like? I mean, is it years at sea, climbing the ranks? What's it like?
Well, yeah. I mean, experience at sea is invaluable, but the path is actually more structured than you might think.
Really?
Oh, yeah. RoleCatcher actually lays out a pretty clear progression,
Okay.
starting with, internships to gain some practical experience.
Right.
And then you have certifications, which really help solidify your expertise.
So each stage kind of builds towards that, I guess, that ultimate goal of the general manager position.
Exactly. And they even provide example profiles at each of these different career stages, so you can really see how the skills that you're learning early on become the foundation for those, leadership roles down the line.
It's like, it's not just about clocking in the sea hours, right?
Right.
It's a much more deliberate climb. And it seems like they make it very clear that even those entry-level roles like Maritime Water Transport Coordinator, it's not just busy work.
Not at all.
You're actually gaining real experience.
Absolutely. Think about it. The responsibilities of a coordinator, assisting with vessel preparations, liaising with clients,
Yeah.
even monitoring budgets.
Wow.
I mean, these are all microcosms of what a general manager handles on a much larger scale.
Right.
It's all about understanding the intricate workings of each level before you can effectively lead it.
That makes a lot of sense. So you're learning from the ground up.
Exactly.
It's almost like, leveling up at a video game or something.
Right, right.
Except instead of collecting virtual gold, you're gaining like real world
That's it.
experience
Yeah.
and responsibility, which is, I guess, way more valuable.
For sure.
But this is where my like gamer brain gets a little tripped up
Okay.
because RoleCatcher mentions, AI and automation quite a bit.
Yeah. It's a big part of it.
So how is that changing the game for, aspiring maritime water transport general managers? Are we going to see self-sailing ships anytime soon?
Well, the ships aren't quite steering themselves just yet.
Okay, good to know.
But that technological wave is definitely, like, reshaping the entire industry.
In what way?
Well, think about it. AI isn't just, like, optimizing where you put the cargo anymore. It's optimizing the entire shipping routes. It's predicting potential disruptions.
Oh,
And it's even, like, analyzing these massive data sets to try and improve fuel efficiency.
that's wild.
It's a whole new level of complexity that, managers need to be able to navigate.
Okay, so maybe not robot overlords taking over the seas just yet,
Not yet.
but definitely a huge shift in, like, what it actually means to manage in this field.
Definitely.
So instead of just knowing the ins and outs of, traditional shipping, future managers also need to be, like, pretty tech-savvy, too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot to ask, right?
It seems like it.
It is, and it's a valid concern. It's actually something that RoleCatcher seems to be addressing head on.
Oh, really?
How so? Well, remember how we were talking about how competitive this field is?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, they've incorporated a lot of these, tech advancements into their platform.
Interesting.
They offer tools that help candidates optimize their CVs,
Okay.
analyze job descriptions to, like, highlight the skills that are most relevant, and even predict potential interview questions.
Predict interview questions. How do they do that?
They use AI analysis.
Wow, that's pretty next level.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So it's almost like having a digital first mate,
Right.
prepping you for every step of the job search before you even set foot on an actual ship.
Exactly. And it's not just about, sounding tech savvy in an interview. It's about understanding how these technologies are changing the actual, like, demands of the job itself.
That makes sense.
A maritime water transport general manager today, they can't just rely on the old ways.
Right.
They need to be able to leverage data analytics.
Okay.
They need to understand, the potential, but also the limitations of these AI-driven systems.
Yeah.
And then be able to adapt their management style accordingly.
So it's almost like what the guide is saying is, look, you can't just be a good captain.
Yeah.
You need to be a digital captain, too.
But digital captain, I like that.
But, let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually landing the job.
Okay.
RoleCatcher, they go pretty deep on interview prep.
They do.
They even offer sample questions, which I always find helpful.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So, in your opinion, what are some of the key themes that really stood out to you?
Well, it's not just about knowing your port from your starboard anymore.
I figured as much.
I mean, they will grill you on your industry experience.
Right.
And of course, knowledge of safety regulations.
Of course, that's a given.
But they're also looking for candidates who can demonstrate critical thinking,
Okay.
problem solving, adaptability.
It's like they're looking for someone who can, like, think on their feet.
Exactly. They want to get a sense of how you handle pressure.
So, like, those shipping delays due to, typhoons.
Right.
Those aren't just, like, theoretical scenarios.
Not at all. Those are real life situations that you might encounter.
Wow.
They'll want to know, how would you manage a crisis?
Yeah.
How would you keep your team motivated, under duress?
Yeah.
How do you balance the demands of the clients with, maintaining those critical safety protocols?
It's a lot to consider.
It is. These are high-stakes decisions, and they want to see that you can handle the heat.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, but it also sounds kind of terrifying.
It can be a little nerve-wracking, yeah.
So how does RoleCatcher actually help you prepare for that level of, scrutiny?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just like a list of, generic interview tips?
No, not at all. They've actually incorporated some really interesting AI-powered tools.
Oh, really? Like what?
So you can actually record yourself answering their sample interview questions.
Okay.
And then the platform will analyze your performance.
Oh, wow.
It'll give you feedback on things like, your clarity, your pacing, even your body language. Yeah. It's like having a personal interview coach right there in your pocket,
That's wild.
analyzing your every word, every gesture.
I could see how that would be incredibly valuable,
It really is.
especially for a field where the interview process is, I'm guessing, probably as demanding as the job itself.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like RoleCatcher is trying to anticipate, like, the future of interviewing.
Yeah.
But all this tech talk, it makes me wonder,
What's that?
is there a risk of, like, losing that human touch? It's almost like we're talking about, like, two sides of the same coin,
Right.
On the one hand, you have all these incredible technological tools like RoleCatcher.
Yeah.
That are, like, fundamentally changing how people prepare for these maritime careers. But then on the other hand, we're also talking about a field that requires like really strong interpersonal skills.
Right.
Managing crews, navigating these complex client relationships.
Absolutely.
So like, how do those two things even work together?
It's a really good question. And honestly, it's one that a lot of industries are kind of grappling with right now, not just maritime management.
Right.
But I think what's so interesting about what RoleCatcher is doing is that they're not trying to like replace those really human elements with technology.
Okay.
It's more about, I think, giving those candidates the tools they need to really showcase those skills even more effectively.
Okay.
Think about it, even if you have like an AI analyzing your interview,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's still human beings who are making those hiring decisions.
That's a really good point. It's almost like they're saying, look, we'll help you get your foot in the door, but you still need to be the one to like walk through it.
Exactly.
And so much of what we've talked about today really highlights that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between having the technical expertise and also those strong interpersonal skills.
It's essential, and it's such a valuable takeaway for anyone listening who is, maybe a little intrigued by this whole career as a maritime water transport general manager.
Yeah, for sure. It's not just about, loving the sea or being good with numbers.
Yeah. It's about being a leader who can navigate all these complexities of a rapidly evolving industry.
Yeah, it's about having like one foot in tradition, right? Understanding those like age-old challenges of maritime navigation, but then the other foot, like firmly planted in the future.
Right.
Embracing those new technologies and approaches to like problem solving. And I think RoleCatcher is really acknowledging that reality.
For sure.
That the future of maritime management is as much about like data and algorithms as it is about, charts and compasses.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a really exciting time to be, at the forefront of such a dynamic and ever-changing field.
Totally.
And for those who are, ready to kind of rise to the challenge, the rewards are, they're immense.
Absolutely. So as we come to the end of our deep dive here, any final words of advice for our listeners who might be, charting a course towards a career as a maritime water transport general manager?
I would say do your research.
Okay.
Explore those resources that RoleCatcher offers. It's a great place to start. But most importantly, don't be afraid to, dive in.
I like it.
Embrace the challenge, because the future of maritime management, it's out there, and it's waiting to be shaped by those who are, bold enough to take the helm.
I love it. That's a great way to put it. It's definitely a career path that's sure to keep you on your toes.
Right.
Navigating not just, the open seas, but also those ever-changing tides of like global commerce and technological innovation.
That's true. It's always changing.
And who knows, maybe one day some of our listeners will be the ones captaining those digitally enhanced fleets into the future.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, fair winds and following seas.